Hi, cybersecurity class. This is Professor Opterbeck, and welcome to another online week in our course. I was really happy to see the very robust discussion on the board last week about the duty of care in cyberspace relating to cybersecurity and data breaches. As you can see, this is a research interest of mine. In addition to the draft paper that I gave you to read, I have a paper published on the economic loss doctrine in cybersecurity. You can look it up if you're interested. A somewhat older paper now on standing in these cases. So I really think this is, to me anyway, a very interesting area. In particular because in my practice career, I've worked on a lot of large class action sorts of cases in product liability and consumer fraud and in other areas. And it's interesting to me to see how that kind of device as a sort of regulatory measure in a way functions, and now to see it kind of being applied for better or worse in cyberspace. The one thing I noticed in many of your discussions, a lot of you said, I never thought I'd have to look at the learned hand formula again. So I really appreciate that. Although you're all going to take the bar, and you're going to have to look at that formula at least once more when you take the bar. And if you do end up practicing some kind of tort law, whether that's as a plaintiff's tort lawyer, or on the defense side, or even in the insurance context, or even in a transactional context when you're advising an individual or a company about avoiding risk, you're going to be applying that learned hand formula in one way or another throughout your professional career. Now, it's true that it rarely gets kind of plugged in a mechanical way into contemporary tort doctrine or liability doctrine, but that basic principle of a kind of risk-benefit calculation underlies a lot of what we do as lawyers, and a lot of what we do when it comes to civil liability. So good work, and I was very glad to see how everybody was kind of thinking about those issues in cyberspace. So this week, as we move into this week, we're looking in a little more depth at some of our compliance measures, and I hope you really enjoy the lectures from this week. I find this stuff really interesting. A lot of the material that I'm giving you from this week comes out of a course that I took a few years ago for one of the cybersecurity certifications that I've earned. And you'll see none of it is rocket science. And in fact, I think the material that you have here is very basic if you end up getting into risk management of some sort in this field. And again, as a lawyer, you may well do that. There probably are people employing a lot more sophisticated tools. Nevertheless, these are some core concepts, and it's good for you to have some of this language and conceptually to have some of these tools. And for our discussion this week, we're just going to begin to dive into the final project assignment. And so you can start to have some discussion about what are some things you see in the scenario that I gave you that seem to be possibly some issues or problems. So have fun with it this week, and I will see you online.